My talk today had an interesting title. I called it Letting Go Part One. And you've heard it said before that letting go is such a huge part of our spiritual work. But part one, and I'm not sure when part two is going to happen, it's probably going to happen in the fall, but part one is about forgiveness. And I was kind of uh, having a chuckle with myself because I decided not to say that this talk was about forgiveness ahead of time because I wanted someone to show up to service. Um, and I'm saying that because don't we, we're familiar with the feeling of avoiding forgiveness. It's not the first thing that we want to do. There's some reasons why that may be true. It's complex. It's not always pleasant. Maybe we think we've done enough. But I found this really, there's an author named Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and she's really quite amazing. And she said this about forgiveness. She said, many people have trouble with forgiveness because they've been taught that it is a singular act to be completed in one sitting. That is not so. Forgiveness has many layers and many seasons. So don't we all think, oh yeah, well I forgave that person and I forgave that person and yeah, I'm not ready to forgive that person. And it's kind of like this binary decision. It's either on or off. So I'm going to explore this idea of that I was born in me through Mark Mesidorian, which is forgiving 1%. There are degrees you can forgive. It's such a wonderful tool. So, and the caveat is forgiveness is not for every person. It's not for every situation. You can't always rush into forgiveness or force it to happen, especially if you haven't really felt, let's say, the emotions behind what the event was. If you haven't fully felt the anger, you need to have that be most likely the first step in your process. And you may never reach a point. It's your decision. It's not always manifest that um, it's not always true that you must forgive. In some situations, maybe it's forgiving 1%. So I'm going to explore that and what that really means today. I have some interesting views on this that have come to me over the last few weeks. So today together we're gonna step in that in the direction of forgiveness. I think we all have something to forgive, and two main things, which I will go into. And I, I've been working with some forgiveness work on my own lately because I have a family member. A lot of stories about forgiveness start with that phrase. I have a family member who is a person that was a bully to me all growing up, as far back as I can remember. And I could tell you so many stories about all the things that were done to me. And instead, I will spare you the details of those stories because I've told them so many times. So I'm going to fast forward 50 years and say, well, today, each time this family member wants to get together, there's a little part of me, there's a little teeny part of me that reserves some resistance, that reserves some resentment, that reserves a little bit of, I don't fully give this person all of my love. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this person. We have wonderful times together, but some part of me holds back just a little bit because it is so used to holding back and reserving some of this resentment and resistance. But I realize that they're one of the few direct family members I have. And to not forgive them is unacceptable with me because there's so much good in the relationship. Now, I will say that it is a decision. And I've had people tell me in the past, oh, well, you can just divorce that family member. You can divorce a mother, father, brother, or sister. And some people have. That's an individual decision that I chose not to make. I couldn't see myself doing that. And maybe that's a good litmus test. For me, it was like, well, no, I don't want to divorce that person out of my life. I don't want to cut off communication. Don't you? I'm sure you know some people who, I've heard it so often. Oh, so and so doesn't talk to their brother. They just don't talk anymore. They haven't talked in 10 years. So this is the realm of forgiveness. And like I said, it's a very personal choice, but uh, I think there's some forgiving that can be done in many situations. So back to this family member, there was a certain aspect that realized that there was value in me telling my story. I told my story so many times that it became this thing that was important to me because it made me feel this victim sense made me feel that it wasn't my fault. It made me feel righteous. It made me feel that I was right. It made me feel good to hear people say, "Oh, you're kidding me. They did that to you? Oh my gosh, that was awful." To commiserate, to hear people commiserating with me and feeling sorry for me and all the ain't it awful things. And then have you ever listened to yourself and decided that you're tired of hearing your own story about something? You're tired of being that story. And so I recently found a quote from Fred Luskin, who's a forgiveness expert. And he said, "There is no situation where you cannot change the way you talk about what happened to you. There's no situation where you can't change the way you talk about what happened to you. Because, as I have said a few times before, whatever the event was, for some of us, there was a traumatic event. Whatever the event was, that event is not uh, you are remembering the last time you remembered that event. That's how the brain stores things. You're remembering the last time you remembered it, and the brain puts a little marker. And then the next time you remember that event, you're remembering the time you remembered it today. That's your brain put it maybe in a new spot, but that's how it's been described by physiologists. And so there is some value in thinking of things like that. It's a story that lives in your brain, and you can begin to reinterpret that story or at least loosen some of the emotional inflammation. Matthew Kahn talks a lot about emotional inflammation, and you can remove some of that from your life by revisiting these things or perhaps forgiving 1%. And there's an interesting view about what forgiving actually is that I'm going to talk about in a second. Another saying about forgiveness is it means giving up all hope for a better past. Or it means giving up all hope for a better set of memories in your head, right? But why should we forgive? Why should we forgive? If you think about the emotions that come along with unforgiveness, I'm thinking, and you can probably name a few more: hatred, anger, blame, shame, resentment, sadness, stress, lots of things like that. And so the health benefits of forgiving have been studied. And they are just cherry picking a few from this list of the things that have been studied about those who forgive. They have reduced blood pressure, lower cortisol, a stronger immune system, less chronic pain, better sleep, lower stress and anxiety, decreased depression, greater overall happiness. Because you've all been in places where someone either did something to you or pulled your strings or something, and it affects your entire system. And so you're by forgiving, you're releasing more of that energy that continuing to you're continuing to create that. So I can't overstate how much holding on to resentment hurts us. And this saying, I know you've heard this before. You may not realize that it was Louise Hay who said, "Resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." And so close is resentment and unforgiveness. You can say unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I realized in containing all of the unforgiveness over the years for this family member, the family member is doing just fine. It was me that was suffering. It's such a paradoxical thing, right? And you may say, well, David, I can't forgive them because what they did is wrong. And I will say that forgiveness is not excusing, it's setting ourselves free. It's not condoning the act, it's dissolving the energetic bonds to the act that are causing us pain. So it's very much about ourselves, not them. And Jack Kornfield said, forgiveness is not forgetting. It's not forgetting, but it's choosing freedom. It's choosing to unlock these handcuffs that we've had, chaining ourselves to this past chunk of bad energy. We want to unchain ourselves from the past event. That's what freedom really is in this case. And my favorite quote from Jesus about forgiveness is, I forgot who was talking to him and saying that, Jesus, how often should we forgive? Should we forgive 7 times? And Jesus said, no, you should forgive 70 times seven, 70 times 7 times. And that's really numerology, symbology for always be forgiving, always be. Jesus had a lot of reason to be resentful. And if he can forgive, then we can forgive. And it points to the power of forgiveness, even if it takes layers and even if it takes time. So, what we're going to do right now is we're actually going to go through a brief exercise. We're going to do some spiritual work here. And I want you to consider a situation or a person where you are ready to forgive 1% or more, where you're ready to forgive 1% or more. And I'd like you can make this a meditation with your eyes closed. You can make this a journaling exercise, but we're just going to venture on this just for a brief few minutes. So I'm going to guide this and I'm going to talk in first person. And you can imagine that I'm talking for your higher self. And I'm saying about this situation, I'm releasing the toxicity that comes with blame and resentment. I'm willing to release more and more of this toxic blame and shame, anger, unforgiveness, sadness. I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to release guilt. I'm willing to release these emotions that take away from my soul power. So I'm going to breathe into the truth of that. I'm going to breathe from the power place, which is the belly. Okay, just feel yourself breathing from that power place because you all know that sometimes when you have received an emotional um, something that hurts you, it's like a punch in the gut. It takes away from your power center, which is right in the gut. So I want you to fill up that gut, imagining that place just opening up with air, but also strong, just strong and resilient. So right now I'm saying I'm cutting the emotional cord of the binds and the bonds that I'm done with, not with anger, but with neutrality. So I'm imagining this situation, person, place that I'm ready to forgive 1% or more. And I'm imagining this person, place, or situation on the horizon, much like the picture that we were sharing earlier, but it's on the horizon of our thoughts. And I'm relaxing my shoulders And I'm being neutral as I let this person, place, or situation just traverse along the horizon. I'm not involved with it. They're not involved with me, but they're just traversing through my world. There are no waves or ripples on the water because of it. I'm allowing safe passage for that over there. And I'm just letting it disappear off into the horizon as I breathe. And I'm grateful that I'm in this process of forgiving 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever I'm ready to do. I'm actively breathing, and each time I exhale, I'm letting go of the toxicity. I'm letting go of the story. I'm letting go of the story, and I'm asking for when I'm repeating the story to myself or others for something to say, hey, self, you're repeating that story again, and it's taking away from your soul power. So I'm asking for awareness of that. And the shamans would call that soul retrieval. I'm ready to take my soul power back. I'm ready to claim the parts of my soul that I left behind, that I gave to someone else to control. No one can control the soul parts of me. No one can take away from the soul parts that are mine. And I do this with neutrality. I don't do this with anger. I just do this with knowing the sacredness of me. It's not about someone else or something else. It's about my peace. And I take a breath, pull back my shoulders, breathe from the power place, exhaling from the power place. And I conclude this exercise with a few more minutes of the important counterpart to all of this is I forgive myself. We heard Jesse Powers sing it last week. I forgive myself. So I'm going to go into this meditative state or this journaling state, and I'm going to say to myself, I forgive myself for every coulda, woulda, shoulda. I forgive myself for everything I did and everything I didn't do as I breathe and protect that power space. I forgive myself for all the things I said and all the things I didn't say. I let it go. I forgive myself for judging others, but I forgive myself even more for judging myself and not supporting myself as a best friend would. Sometimes talking to myself in a manner that a stranger would not talk to myself in. I forgive myself for that, and I vow not to do that again. And as I breathe towards the end of this process, I know I'm releasing toxic shame and guilt that aren't doing me any good, so I'm done with them. I'm calling back the parts of my soul that I've given away through my own storytelling and my own false opinions about myself. I'm taking my full power back, letting myself off the hook. I'm reclaiming self-love that I always deserve 24/7, 365. I'm forgiving myself 100% right now. So I'm just going to be in the gratitude of this, knowing that this work has been done now and that this work can be continued in any moment. because it's a process. But because I've asked, I know that this forgiveness, which has been binding me and holding me back, like the chains to the past, this is going to be something that's going to help me physically. It's going to help me mentally. It's going to help me emotionally. And I'm so, so grateful for this process. So I am complete, and I'm going to spotlight Amy right now.
Well, you know how I feel is I like to make something up based on Reverend David's genius. So I'm going to make it up. I don't know about you, but to me, it feels like the blues. Forgiveness feels like the blues, doesn't it? So, are you tired? Are you tired from the story you tell? Remembering, you remember it so well. Can you loosen it up? Feel that sensation, letting go of blame, releasing inflammation. Yeah, give up all hope for a better past. Drop the story and take off that mask. Oh, anger and stress, guilt and anxiety. These feelings keep us from being free. Are you gonna drink the poison and expect someone else to die? Unchain yourself, and fly. Are you tired of the story you tell? You know that story that you remembering so well. I want to release that toxic shame. I'm gonna let go of all that blame. Yeah, bit by bit, I'm changing the story of me. Oh, give up the hope for a better past. Oh, drop that story and take off the mask of anger and stress and guilt and anxiety. These feelings keep us from being free. Are you gonna drink the poison and expect someone else to die? Unchain yourself, and fly. You're gonna take that power back of peace. Oh, let go, breathe and release. Unchain yourself to be free. I forgive myself for the coulda, woulda, shoulda. I forgive myself what I did and I did not say. I forgive myself for judging myself. Oh, releasing toxic guilt and shame. Oh, I'm so tired of the stories I tell. Oh, I remember it so well. I remembering all these stories we tell. We forgive ourselves. Oh, unchain yourself and fly. Are you gonna drink that poison and expect someone else to die? Well, go ahead, unchain yourself and fly. Oh, go ahead and fly. Set yourself free and fly. So light, I forgive. It's all right. I'm so light. I forgive. I'm I'm so light, I'm so light. I let go.